everybody. My name is Rita Crompton. We are very lucky that we've got David Streen. Dave has got a ton of products that he's manufacturing in his Edgy tool selection. Dave, thank you so much for being with us, first of all, and tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, thanks so much for having me on, Rita. Yeah, I'm Dave Streen, and I have brought over 100 different products to market, mostly in the industry of paintless dent repair. That's where we take the little dents out of cars and fix hail damage and stuff. And my tools are made for professional use. And so I brought so many tools to market and I needed a playbook for myself. So I wrote a book about inventing that you can find on Amazon and shameless plug. But yeah, I love helping inventors
I'll send you the invoice for that.
perfect, perfect. I love helping inventors, avoid the mistakes that I made. And I think we're all kind of in this together, helping make the world a better place with, solving problems and stuff like that. So.
So, there's so much going on right now. And, we always talk to inventors about, the variables that we look at between manufacturing here in the US and wherever, whether it's, China or Canada or Mexico, wherever. It's about, the price the consumer is willing to pay for it. So you shop around, you find out where is that going to be. What do you do? How do you, when you say you brought over 100 products to market, obviously you've dealt with that in the past, and obviously it's new.
Yeah, yeah, and it's always changing, and some of my products are made right here in the United States. Some of them are made overseas. I've got one that uses LEDs, and so that's there's one manufacturer in the world that specializes in that kind of thing and stuff. So I think with the tariffs and all that, we're seeing reshuffling a little bit of people looking for other solutions and going to other countries and bringing things back home and all that stuff. So there is a big shuffling of that. It doesn't affect most of my tools because of how I run my operations. I try to stock up on years worth, and they're all what I call pocket items. So they're really, really tiny and stuff. But I have some bigger products that I'm in development right now that I'm actually getting ready to order the prototypes and stuff. And the tariffs are definitely um, helping shift the decisions on which manufacturing we're going to go with. So,
All right.
um,
So when
right now.
you say that, they're small products, so give us an example. All right. First of all, where do people go to find your tools if you've got consumer? You said most of them are professional, but
Yes.
edgytools.com.
Yes. Edgytools.com, EDGY, like you're edgy, haven't had your coffee yet. And yeah, so and most of like I say, most of them I call them pocket items because they fit in your pocket. And I do that for a couple reasons. One is space that the professional technicians have in their trucks are limited. So keeping things from being bulky is definitely an advantage to the end user. But also I get them shipped to me, I get them shipped to my fulfillment center and shipping to the end customer, all of that is greatly reduced in warehouse space and everything else. So I purposely try to design everything small tools that make a huge impact is what I like to say.
So when we look, when we look at inventors who are they're making decisions. I mean, the inventor business model is full of decisions. And most of them have got, a very shallow pocket when it comes to mistakes, as far as what they can
Mhm.
afford to make mistakes financially and then be able to fix. What are some of the mistakes that you made and you learned? Don't do this again.
So I would say just because you can develop something doesn't mean you should. Try and bet on the best horses. For a while, then that's why I got up to 100 different products in the market. I think if I would do it over, I'd rather have five huge winners than 100 that all do well. It just spreads you thinner and thinner and thinner. So I think really evaluating just because it's a great idea doesn't mean you should do it necessarily. So being way more cautious and slow to pull the trigger on different things. And then I would also say knowing the end result a little better. Now I've developed so many things that I almost know what the end cost is going to be, and what I can charge to the end consumer. And so not developing stuff, and I used to waste all this time going all the way through CAD drawings and 3D, renderings and 3D printing and, samples and all of this to realize that we couldn't manufacture it for a reasonable cost to the
Yeah.
end consumer. So if it wasn't going to sell, the product was dead. I wish I would have known that at the beginning versus at the, near the finish line. So those are some of the lessons I've kind of learned that I'd like to pass along.
Yeah, we've learned that lesson in some ways. It's like, all right, how much material does it take to make a new plastic bucket? Well, don't make the whole bucket, just make a rim that fits around the top of it because nobody wants to spend the money on a mold anymore that makes a whole new bucket.
Yeah,
I had somebody that was, they wanted to make a whole new suitcase, and I said, don't make the suitcase. There's a whole bunch of those. Make the insert that
yeah,
organizes it the way that you envision. And it's like, okay, well, that just made those prototypes a lot cheaper.
yeah, exactly. Very good. Very good.
And so what, when you look at how did you anticipate what was coming? I would say you said, there at a panic attack, a lot of people went out and hurried up and made quick orders when
Yeah.
when President Trump got elected, because they kind of saw this, if they were paying attention, saw it was going to be coming. Um, in the process of what you've learned, Dave, what kind of information can you give to someone and saying, all right, I've got inventory stuck on the dock in China. What do they do?
So I'm not sure I can give expertise there, but and I'd love to say that I had this magical foresight and knew all this stuff was coming and stuff. I don't. So what I do and what I'd like to point out is the inventor brain is a little different than the entrepreneurial brain, and a lot of times they're at odds and whatever. And so for me personally, I don't like the operations of my business. I love to come out with new products and stuff. I don't like reordering and inventory and all the stuff that keeps the boat rowing, if you will. And so what I did was said, well, I don't want to be reordering product every few months and whatever as I'm going out and always having out of stocks and everything. So I just upped my minimum order quantity. I would order thousands instead of hundreds, knowing that eventually, 5, 6 years down the road, I'm going to sell through them and whatever. And that way I don't have to touch that product again, for 5 to 10 years. And so I'm thinking long term with that. And yeah, it ties up some capital, in the short term, but I also get so much better rates on that product that it wins overall. And so I kind of have a different strategy, and that's what allowed me to not really worry about the next 4 years or whatever, comes our way.
Good for you. I know when I
So,
I talk to inventors about getting pricing, it's like, don't get pricing on an order of 500. Get pricing on an order of 5,000,
yeah, yeah,
because it's that number that now makes you competitive. And, even if you only order the 500, your pricing, you're going to take, you take a hit in the early days, but you get down to that point now where you've got a, reasonable consumer price.
yeah, yeah. And great advice, great advice. And yeah, whenever I request PIs, perform invoices, I generally ask for three different quantities. I'll get a low, a mid, and a high where I'm stretching, and I'll see. And sometimes, I'm saving pennies to go 10 times the inventory, and sometimes I'm saving half the price. And so based on that, I'll decide how many I'm going to order. But that's
Yeah.
an exercise I do almost every time I order anything.
And that's really good, because so often the inventors, well, this is how much it's costing me. It's like, no, 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 you can't do it that way. You've got to look at what will the consumer pay for it.
Yeah,
And for
yeah,
some, it's a matter of redesigning it. There's a
yeah,
big difference between the prototype, like you said, you make the prototype, and then the manufacturer's prototype,
yeah.
and then being able to say, okay, this is where you're going to get it to the consumer and stuff. So anyway, stick with us while we go and pay some bills. We will be right back.
My name's Noah McNeely, and my company is called Product Quick Start. For 25 years, I've helped inventors design, develop, prototype, and manufacture their products. I also host a podcast called Product Genius. Please check us out at productquickstart.com. I'd love to talk to you to see if I can help you get your product onto the market.
And we've had some interesting swings into the marketing area, which is just huge for inventors. Market is expensive. I don't know any inventor who can start out with, TV ads, even if it is on, the streaming networks. So, Dave, what did you do to let people know you're there?
So, well, the big joke was my buddy asked me when I first started my tool company how I was going to let the industry know, and it's such a tight little industry that I said I'm just going to let one professional dent guy know about it and tell him to keep it a secret.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, luckily, word of mouth spreads pretty fast. I find that humor and making jokes and stuff, like if I'm having fun with my marketing, the end consumer's having fun reading it and that helps my sales a lot and stuff, but that's kind of my brand with Edgy. So we do a lot of innuendos and silly stuff, and the guys working on the cars love it, and then they tend to share it and stuff like that. So just like with any business, I think word of mouth is your number one way to go. And then just like she just said, like pick one platform and master it versus trying to be on 10 different places and dabbling. You'll get way better results going deep with the one. So and
And
then knowing the one where your clients, where your potential customers are hanging out, if you're, you know,
it makes a difference.
yeah,
When you go and look at the difference between LinkedIn, Facebook, um, Etsy, all the different ones. There's so many different ones, and you're right, they've got different followings.
yeah,
And you want to be on the one that makes the most sense for you, all right, with tools as
yeah.
opposed to kitchen gadgets.
Yeah, yeah. And I had to do a big shift because for years, like 95% of my sales came from Facebook. And now the younger techs are all on Instagram instead of Facebook. So I've had to transition there. And then, I have some companies that help me with my social media. My daughter does some stuff on Instagram and those kind of TikTok and those kind of platforms. I'm still pretty heavy on Facebook. So we kind of have it covered and surrounded, if you will. And it's kind of fascinating that when I think I'm doing really good with my marketing, it's not necessarily the case. So when I put really good analytics on my website, I found out that I would run an ad for one of my products and the ad would work. I'd get a sale, but they'd be clicking on that just to get to the website easily because it reminded them of something that I had already planted the seed that they wanted. So you need to show the person. We often feel like we're spamming our customers and they're seeing it all the time with the social media algorithms and stuff, they're usually not anymore. So you might post it 20 times and think, oh, people are getting sick of my stuff. Most people still haven't even seen it once. And
Yeah.
if they have, it hasn't stuck. So be repetitive, be episodic with your marketing. Just because it's stale for us because we're doing it so often doesn't mean the other person's sick of it or anything. So that'd be
Well,
my
and
advice is consistency.
that's true. I mean, when you look at, your own social media, all right, so you've got time on Tuesday morning, you go do it. You've got time on Thursday nights, you go do it. But if you happen to then miss someone's post, now you catch it at another time. And they've only seen it once, like you said, they've only seen it once, and that's when they say, "Oh, let me go check this out." I know we do that for a lot of our inventors with their products. And, we could have posted it and we get new people that see it all the time because we're posting at different days, different times, different platforms.
Yeah, yeah. And we don't always jump immediately. We see it and we just make a mental note. Oh yeah, I want to go back and check that out later or something. And so you need to be repetitive so that they see it. And again, like they might, just remember, oh, I want that, product A, and then they see an ad for product C and they click on that to go buy product A because they knew they wanted it already. So we're so distracted and spread thin that you need to be consistent and keep it in front of mind.
Oh,
So
I know. And it's so easy. We are so inundated with information. It's easy to forget.
yeah, yeah.
And for our younger listeners out there, it's like your day's coming, honey. The older you get, the more you forget. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
we
and
do
then
notice that, yeah.
yeah. And I try to always remind everybody that it's social media, so it should be social. You don't want it ad, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. I'd say like one or two posts for every five should be buy my product. Like I try and do a lot of educational stuff, a lot of helpful stuff, a lot of funny stuff, and then by the way, here's this product kind of thing. So
Yeah.
keep it spread out so that you're not just burning your client and everybody's leaving.
Well, and I always tell the inventors, it's like, get other people using your product. Get testimonials on
Yep.
how cool it is, old, young, male, female, different settings of using the product. Those variety 20-second demos of your product can do more than you're giving a sales pitch.
Yeah, you're brilliant, brilliant. Third-party endorsements. If I say my product's great, I'm just bragging and I'm obviously biased. If three other people say my product's great, now it's, seems more
Yeah.
true. So
And your mother doesn't count.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
As I always tell people, it's like, all right, you've had 5 people tell you how wonderful your product is, and they were all related over Mother's Day dinner. Doesn't count.
Yeah, yeah. And I always screenshot everything and kind of repurpose it. So like if somebody texts me, "Hey Dave, I'm loving this product," I'll take a screenshot of that, share it on social media and say, "Man, I love getting, waking up to texts like these, and stuff." And so those are the advertising air quotes that work the best. They might not necessarily be an advertisement talking about the features and benefits of the product. It's somebody else saying they love it. That works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Dave, thank you so much. We are always grateful to have you on the show. America, thanks so much for being with us and for listening. And if you want to see some of the cool new products out there, go to our website, and that is where you will find the list of the cool new products. And we need you, consuming America, to go out there and buy those cool new products. So be with us again next week when we'll be back with a new set of inventors. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We will be back next week with more stories on getting products from mind to market. We will have new inventors and industry experts. So join us and have a wonderful week.